G'day, Ben Futrell here. How you going? Today, we're going to talk about the 7 biggest challenges that are facing your business right now. And I think one of the keys to being successful in business is to be able to predict some of the challenges you're going to be faced with. And that way you can start preparing for overcoming those challenges before you reach them. No different to somebody that was in a hurdle race. I'm sure a runner that was in a hurdle race would know how many hurdles, how far apart the hurdles were, and how long the race was. In business, it's really important that we start to think about some of the things that may come up in the future that could stop us from succeeding, stop us from achieving our goals. So today I want to talk about the 7 biggest challenges that may face your business in the future and how to overcome those. So the first thing to think about is the uncertainty of the future. I think there's been nothing truer said than right now in business. There is still a lot of uncertainty. And I know myself, even though the pandemic has sort of settled down and we feel like we're getting back to normal. I think the first cruise ship sailed out of Sydney Harbour the other day on a cruise. It starts to make you think that the travel industry is starting to come back and, normality is starting to happen. However, I have not seen 100% confidence still in the business to business marketplace. And so, uncertainty of the future is always going to be something you need to think about. So, the success of your business is always going to be able to your ability to be able to take actions or create strategies based on certain predictions. Uh, and usually they're from current trends in the markets or things like that. But unfortunately, particularly right now, it's pretty difficult to do. Things like interest rates, going up again, and the government just changing, and all of these things. But you need to do your best. But of course, one of the challenges you're faced with is that uncertainty of the future. And I think you need to think through how are you going to deal with uncertainty, because you're not going to be able to remove it, right? So uncertainty is definitely going to be there. When we then look at number 2, the second thing that I think you're going to be faced with, which is a real challenge, is then the regulations in the business world that are changing all the time. I was talking to a friend of mine that's an accountant the other day, and he said that there's been some new changes to PAYG, to the BAS, the super guarantees, where as a director of a company, no matter how you go about reporting those things, if you don't pay them, you become personally liable. And so, if you're a proprietary limited company, or, if you've got an ACN, like an Australian company number, then you're probably liable as a director. If you're a director of an organization, you can be liable. That also goes for, if you're a director on a board for maybe another organization, like a not-for-profit or something. So you've got to take it really seriously. That's just one example, but regulation is everywhere, whether it's in the housing market, like we see that a lot in finance. There's lots of regulations. A lot of industries have that. So, I think there's always going to be regulation and compliance issues for businesses when you move forward. Things like making sure that you're reporting things properly, that you're paying things properly. So the solution is make sure that you understand the meaning of every regulation there is, or at least have somebody on your team that knows that. So whether that's your accountant or a lawyer or something, so make sure that you know how to deal with that. Like I said, this accountant was giving me this new regulation that starts on the 1st of July that was going to make us a little bit more liable. Which is understandable. We have to be liable as business owners, but there's no doubt that as business owners, sometimes there are business owners that get in a bit of a pickle where I don't think it's really fair for them to be lumped with a huge, like GST payment, for example, if their business goes insolvent. I mean, they say small business is the heartbeat of the economy, yet they're going to make small business owners 100% accountable for everything. So just be very careful. The third challenge I think that you're going to be faced with is then finance, and then, of course, resource management for your business. Whether it comes to financing, we know that financing is going to get more difficult, because as soon as interest rates go up, serviceability goes down. You may have to be more competitive in your pricing because of the last couple of years. That can affect your profitability, and then your profitability will also affect your serviceability and things like that. When we talk about business resource management right now, we can also see that getting equipment is very difficult. So, you might be a manufacturer that relies on some sort of automated equipment like a CNC machine or some sort of production machine that is just impossible to get in the country right now, because people that are making these machines, the parts are scarce. There's just so many different things that have become more difficult. And this is a challenge that you may have to forecast in the next 12, 24 months for your business. If you're finding that it's almost impossible for you to be able to get particular stock or equipment to be able to do what you need to do, then that's going to be very difficult for you as well. Which sort of leads me on to challenge number 4, which is technology. You know, the advancement and all the changes of technology. There's new things being developed all the time. You have to make sure that you are always looking at what's available. How will it help you? Will it help you with your efficiency? Will it help you with your delivery? Will it make jobs that maybe there's things right now that you're looking to recruit for that you're struggling with, where technology might be able to take on a big load of that task. So thinking about what technology might change as well in the future, not just in how you do your job, but in the market that you're in. So, for example, to use one that's very widely known, is if you were in the business of creating VHS and beta videotapes, of course, you're out of business right now. Even if you then morphed into a company that made DVDs and CDs, obviously that you're out of business again. So, you just need to think about how is technology going to affect your market as well. Like a consumer is going to be behaving in a different way because technology is delivering products and services to them in a different way. I'm seeing something right now happening in the camera market. I'm quite an enthusiastic photographer, and there's predictions from Samsung that their cameras are going to take better photos than a SLR or DSLR will in by 2025. So to me, I actually grapple with really finding that I find that really difficult to believe. But you know what? It's possible, I guess. It could be possible, right? So we look at cars. Audi has said quite publicly that from, I think it's 2025 also, I think it's the same date, they're not going to manufacture petrol engines anymore, right? So if you were in a business where your business relied on making parts that you supplied to manufacturers that made cars, then you'd have to seriously think about how does that challenge you in the future, right? So technology advancements and changes is definitely one of the biggest challenges. The fifth one that I've got here, which is something that I know that most of you will definitely relate to, is recruiting and hiring the right people. I think this is a challenge that is never going to go away. But right now, I think that recruiting is more difficult than it ever has been for people. I know a lot of people are struggling with it. So you're going to have to think about, what do you do in your business to overcome that challenge in the future? Number one is making sure that you look after your current team. Because right now, if somebody was to decide that they no longer want to be a part of your business, it could be quite difficult for you to be able to replace them. So that would be one thing. The other thing is start thinking about how can you differentiate yourself from the competition, because if people are getting harder to recruit, then you want to make your business more attractive or somewhere where people want to work. So rather than sitting there in the corner saying, poor me, I can't recruit anybody, it's getting tougher and the future is going to be more challenging. This is about, helping you understand that is going to be a future challenge, and you can overcome that if you think about it now. If you predict it and you go, well, I need to start thinking about that now. If you've got growth plans in place for your business and it's predictable, and you know that in 8 months' time you're going to need to have a new person start in your business to be able to fulfill the work, then you can at least start to predict when you should start looking and put things in place to make sure you are attracting talent to your business at the right time. So important. I think the next big challenge for so many people in the future is going to be marketing and customer relationship management. So, you think about, and this is number 6 on my list of 7 things. If you think about, the next generation coming through, I've noticed, even in our business now, I've noticed a lot of people messaging us through Facebook Messenger. I've noticed a lot of text messaging going on from clients, and the challenge with a lot of that is that messaging is short. It's very impersonal, and it's not very easy to save anywhere, right? So that's a bit of a problem as well. Marketing as well is becoming a bit more challenging in some ways. I actually think it's becoming easier in other ways, but I think for a lot of people it's challenging, especially if you've been in business for a long time and you've been able to rely on a lot of the traditional marketing methods that you've done in the past, but a lot of those aren't working anymore, right? So you now need to start to think differently. And if if your business relied heavily on face-to-face relationships, the last couple of years would have been an absolute steep learning curve for you on how to take your business online and digital, and how to build relationships with digital media. And that's so important, right? So you need to be starting to think about how is that going to challenge you in the future. We cannot be certain that this, which takes me back to number 1, we cannot be certain that this pandemic is done with us. We cannot be certain that it's not going to disrupt our businesses anymore. We still have to keep in mind that it could, or even something else could. I heard the other day, as many of us probably did, this monkeypox or whatever it was, and I started, oh no, not another one, not something else. So we need to think about the future. We need to think about how are we reaching our target market? Where is our target market? Right now there's so many different things that are dragging a consumer's attention, whether it's television, whether it's social media, whether it's, there's just so many things. There's games. Like, you look at the next generation coming through, they live on these games. They're playing games. If you've got a child, I'm sure you can relate. So marketing is more difficult, and that means that customer relationship management is going to be difficult as well. And so making sure you've got a good system for that is going to be really important. So a good CRM. And then number 7, I think the next challenge is, how are you going to get monitoring performance and key performance indicators? Because I think the last 2 years there's been a mass migration from working in an office to working at home. And I know in my businesses, that's definitely the case. Like, a lot of my team are working from home. And those that are working from the offices, don't have the same level of interaction with the team, or even with the owners, because we're not there, right, as often. So you've got to come up with ways to overcome those challenges. And so things like, team chat boards, regular feedback to team members through those chat boards, having catch-up meetings using things like Zoom. All of these things are great tools. And then, of course, KPIs, or key performance indicators, job scorecards. How do you help people understand, whether or not they're doing a great job or not, and how do you monitor that as a team leader now? Because things are a little bit different. I think this is going to be continue to be a future challenge for you. So, so there's 7 challenges I think you're going to face in the near future, in the next sort of 12 to 36 months. Things that you need to be thinking about, and none of those things are insurmountable. It's just things you need to think about. And of course, it's not the entire list of challenges you'll be faced with. I'm sure there's many more that'll come your way. But I think I don't think getting knocked down is a bad thing. That shouldn't define anybody if you don't see something coming. But I think what defines somebody is how quickly they get back up and what they do when they get back up. So, knowing about what's coming your way, what challenges are likely to be present in your future, is a great ability for you to be able to plan and prepare and make sure that you can get up quickly, and that you can just walk away from whatever knocks you down, because I think that's what is key. Alrighty, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you give it the thumbs up and share it around. And hopefully, these challenges aren't too big a challenge for you, and that you continue to grow your business with great success. All right, I've been Ben Futrell. You've been fabulous for tuning in. See you next time.